Hello everyone, welcome to the first video of this channel. By this video we will be starting a series in which you will get to know about countries in alphabetical order. Today we will know about Australia. Please stay with us and watch the full video, and if you like the video consider subscribing. Australia is situated entirely in the southern hemisphere, between the Indian and the Pacific Ocean, south of maritime Southeast Asia and north of the Antarctic. Australia is surrounded by oceans and seas. Indian Ocean is at the right. South Pacific Ocean, Coral Sea and Tasman Sea at the left, and Timor Sea Arafura Sea is at above. Though it has no land borders with any country, but it has maritime borders with Indonesia, Papua New Guinea, East Timor, New Caledonia, Solomon Islands, and New Zealand. At first let's talk about the name Australia. The name is a shortened form of Terra Australis, which was one of the names given to the imagined land mass that was thought to surround the South Pole. Is derived from the Latin Australis, meaning southern, and specifically from the hypothetical Terra Australis postulated in pre-modern geography. The name was popularized by the explorer Matthew Flinders from 1804, and it has been in official use since 1817, replacing New Holland, an English translation of the Dutch name. First given by Abel Tasman in 1643 as the name for the continent. People first arrived on the Australian mainland by sea from maritime Southeast Asia between 50,000 and 65,000 years ago, and penetrated to all parts of the continent. From the rainforests in the north, the deserts of the centre, and the sub-Antarctic islands of Tasmania and Bass Strait. The artistic, musical, and spiritual traditions they established are among the longest surviving such traditions in human history. The first Torres Strait Islanders, ethnically and culturally distinct from the Aboriginal people, arrived from what is now Papua New Guinea around 2,500 years ago, and settled in the islands of the Torres Strait and the Cape York Peninsula, forming the northern tip of the Australian landmass. The first known landing in Australia by Europeans was in 1606 by Dutch navigator Willem Janszoon on Australia's northern coast. Later that year, Spanish explorer Luis Vaz de Torres sailed through, and navigated what is now called Torres Strait and associated islands. 29 other Dutch navigators explored the western and southern coasts in the 17th century and named the continent New Holland. Macassan Trapangas visited Australia's northern coasts after 1720, possibly earlier. Other European explorers followed until, in 1770, Lieutenant James Cook charted the east coast of Australia and claimed it for Great Britain. He returned to London with accounts favouring colonisation at Botany Bay. The first fleet of British ships arrived at Botany Bay in January 1788 to establish a penal colony, the first colony on the Australian mainland. In the century that followed, the British established other colonies on the continent, and European explorers ventured into its interior. Aboriginal people were greatly weakened and their numbers diminished by introduced diseases and conflict with the colonists during this period. Gold rushes and agricultural industries brought prosperity. Transportation of British convicts to Australia was phased out from 1840 to 1868. Autonomous parliamentary democracies began to be established throughout the 6 British colonies from the mid-19th century. The colonies voted by referendum to unite in a federation in 1901, and modern Australia came into being. Australia fought as part of British Empire and later Commonwealth in the 2 World Wars, and was to become a long-standing ally of the United States when threatened by Imperial Japan during World War II. Trade with Asia increased, and a post-war immigration program received more than 6.5 million migrants from every continent. Supported by immigration of people from almost every country in the world since the end of World War II, The population increased to more than 25.5 million by 2020, with 30% of the population born overseas. Australia is the planet's sixth largest country after Russia, Canada, China, the USA, and Brazil. At 7,692,024 square kilometers, it accounts for just 5% of the world's land area of 149,450,000 square kilometers. Australia is mainly divided into 6 states: New South Wales, Queensland, Victoria, Western Australia, Southern Australia, and Tasmania, and 3 territories: Australian Capital Territory, Northern Territory, and Jervis Bay Territory. Canberra is the capital of Australia, which is located inside the Australian Capital Territory. But the biggest city is Sydney, which is located in the state of New South Wales. Its currency is the Australian dollar. Australia's government is a federal parliamentary constitutional monarchy type of government. King Charles III is the monarch of Australia. David Hurley is the Governor-in-General of Australia, who is appointed by the monarch. And Anthony Albanese is the Prime Minister of Australia. Australia's GDP is about $1.64 trillion. And Australia's per capita income is about $60,443 Australia's calling code is +61. Australia's HDI is 0.951, which is very high. It is the 5th in the world. According to World Bank, 25.69 million people live in Australia. 30% of Australia's population is born in overseas. Here 90% are Caucasian, 7% are Asians, and only 3% Aboriginal Australians are there. Now let's talk about religion. In case of religion, 52.1% are followers of Christianity. 29.6% has no religion. 3.2% people are followers of Islam. 1.9% Hinduism. 2.4% Buddhism. And 11% other. Now let's talk about some famous landmarks in Australia. Sydney Opera House. The first image that comes to mind when we hear Australia is the enormous and outstandingly distinctive form of architecture, the Sydney Opera House. It is a multi-venue for performing arts. The building shaped and changed the image of the whole country. Location: Sydney Harbour in Sydney, New South Wales, Australia. Mungo National Park. Spread over 274 acres of land, situated 875 kilometres west of Sydney, Mungo National Park is a UNESCO World Heritage Site. The park is rich in the history of Aboriginals' culture of Australia. The remains of oldest human in Australia, the Mungo Man, was discovered in this very park. Location: southwestern New South Wales, in eastern Australia. The Rocks. If old cities and ancient places entice you, then the cobbled laneways, pubs that are probably a century old, cozy cafes of the Rocks could be your utopia. One of the most popular historical sites of Australia, this ancient city stands tall and proud overlooking the humongous Sydney Harbour Bridge. Location: southern shore of Sydney Harbour, New South Wales, Australia. Well, there are many more places to visit in Australia, which we will not be able to show in this video. For you, we will put a link of a website in description about top 20 places to visit in Australia. So this was today's video about Australia. Hope this will be helpful for you. Please consider subscribing and appreciate this channel. Thanks for watching.